There's a well-known story about George Washington that recounts the time when, as a 6-year-old boy, someone gave him an axe. And so as a typical young boy, George Washington went out and hacked on everything he could find, till one day he decided to try his hatchet out on a little cherry tree in his father's garden. He hacked away at that tree and didn't chop it down, but he hacked it enough to cause the little tree to die. And soon George's father said, "George, do you know what happened to the little cherry tree in the garden?" Well, George said, "I cannot tell a lie, Pa. You know I can't tell a lie. I did cut it with my hatchet." And the story goes that George's father embraced him and was so glad that George's honesty was more than 1,000 trees. What's ironic is that the most famous story about honesty in American history was fabricated by George Washington's first biographer. In other words, the most famous story about not telling a lie is in fact itself a lie. Today we come to the 9th commandment, which reads in Exodus 20 verse 16, "You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor." And our family principle today, which is our title for today's message, is "We tell the truth." Now, as with the last few commandments, this commandment forbids the most extreme form of this particular category of sin. Lying as a witness in court and causing an innocent person to be convicted is a heinous sin. No lie is as terrible as the one that destroys an innocent person's life. In ancient times, if a person was accused of a crime, he had little protection. In the days before forensic evidence, evidence came from eyewitnesses, and it often came down to one person's word against another. And if the witness lied, it could be fatal for the accused. Well, God wanted things to be different in Israel. And so when a member of the covenant community was put on trial, he did so before a jury of elders, and there had to be no fewer than 2 witnesses. This was intended to protect the defendant. But still, the system still depended upon truth being told. So God gave this commandment in the foundational truths and laws for his people. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Even today, witnesses swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and then pray, "So help me God," that they might not fudge or forget the truth. Because where there is no truth, there can be no justice. However, what happens in public begins in private. What comes out of your mouth will not be truthful unless the truth is first in your heart. Jesus said in Matthew 12, verse 34, the mouth speaks out what the heart is full of. And where the heart is full of truth, the mouth will speak forth truth. But where the heart is full of dishonesty, the mouth will bear false witness. God gave humans an ability like no other creature. He gave us the power of speech. Birds chirp, dogs bark, cows moo, but people speak. And while all creatures communicate in some fashion, we are able to communicate at a higher level because of our gift of speech. We can use our gift of speech to gladden people's hearts. For instance, we can say things like, "I love you," "I'm sorry," "I'm so proud of you," and those kind of words lift up people. But we can also use our gift of speech in bad ways to bring down people and to sadden hearts. We pour out hatred and gossip and lies. James 3:10 says, "Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing." And brothers and sisters, this should not be. Since speech is one of the greatest gifts that God has given us, we must handle it with care. Likewise, we must guard our speech, because it is with our mouth that we declare the greatest truth of all, the gospel of Jesus Christ. How can we proclaim the one who is the truth with the same mouth which we declare lies? How can people believe us when we speak the greatest truth of Jesus Christ when they can't trust us with less mundane matters of honesty? Truth is vital. It's the foundation of the church. It's the foundation of the home. It's the foundation of the social order. But a lie destroys that foundation. So courts, relationships, good business, they all thrive on honesty. And that's why Satan uses deceit as his chief weapon to fight God and to destroy mankind. If Satan can destroy truth, he can destroy what God has created. In John 8:44, Jesus said this of Satan: Satan was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Since creation, a battle has raged between truth and lies. The first sin began with a lie from Satan used to deceive Eve. When Jesus was in the wilderness temptation and Satan came to him, Satan levied all kind of lies in an attempt to destroy Jesus. And when it came to Jesus' trial before the Sanhedrin, Satan influenced false witnesses to come forward and to say things that would convict Jesus. Satan is the father of lies. But get this, Jesus is personified truth. John 1:14 says Jesus came from the Father full of grace and truth. In John 14:6, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. 1 Peter 2:22 quotes Isaiah 53:9, saying of Jesus, no deceit was found in his mouth. So since Satan is the father of lies and Jesus is personified truth, when we lie, we are more like Satan than we are Jesus. But sadly, lying is one of the most common sins in the world today, and it is at epidemic proportions. According to research, 91% of Americans lie regularly. And we can laugh about some of the lies in our culture, things like this: one size fits all. Or, I'm going to start my diet tomorrow. Or, how about this one? I just need 5 minutes of your time. And we can laugh at those, but lying really is a problem. About 60% of people 18 and older are incapable of having a conversation without lying once every 10 minutes. In one day, the average person lies 4 times, totaling 1,460 lies a year. In the business world, 31% of people lie on their resumes. And we've got to get rid of this sin because it's impacting our families. Studies show that parents are the primary victims of lying, with 86% of lies being told to them. So kids and youth, we're on to you. Second to parents are friends of individuals. Third is siblings. And fourth are spouses. So the top 3 of those 4 are in the family. There's a little girl who asked her mother, said, Mommy, what is a lie? And the mama said, well, a lie is an abomination to the Lord, but it is a very present help in a time of trouble. Lying encompasses far more, though, than telling a fib. Just like in the previous commandments that we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, which condemn the most extreme form of those sins, like murder and adultery and theft, then also apply to all the lesser sins that lead up to those, quote, big sins. So also this law and commandment applies to every false every kind of falsehood leading up to perjury. So the ninth commandment is not limited only to perjury, but it means rather that we should not lie anywhere in any way. If you look up lie in a thesaurus, you'll find a long list of synonyms that include things like untruth and fib and fabrication, deception, falsification, half-truth, exaggeration, perjury, misinformation, disinformation, gossip, propaganda, and more. We've already mentioned perjury as a type of false testimony, but there are other ways that people break this commandment. One of those is just direct lies, and this is what we normally think of. A lie is a designed deception, stretching the truth, bending the truth, telling only partial truth are all direct lies. And we lie to impress other people. We lie to get out of trouble. We lie to get our way. We lie even though it's often harder than just simply telling the truth. Because one lie begats another lie, which begats another lie, and you can't keep up after a while. Abraham Lincoln said, "No man has a good enough memory to make a successful liar." Deception is behind a lot of advertising and some business deals. Have you gone to purchase a new automobile and the salesman says, "This is the most reliable vehicle on the market. This vehicle will go a long way. We give you a 30,000-mile warranty, but you're not even going to need that. This car is reliable." And so you say, "I'm going to buy this car. It is reliable." Then you go in to sign the paperwork, and what do they ask you? "Would you like to buy the extended warranty on this vehicle? Because, there are a lot of expensive repairs that may come up in the future." You're like, "Hey, wait a second. I thought this was a reliable vehicle." How about when your air conditioner breaks down and the air conditioning company comes out and suddenly you're spending $6,000 on a new unit and really all you need is a few $100 repair, but you don't know that and they know you don't know that, and so they lead you in a different way. Get a second opinion. The worst thing about lies is that they destroy trust, and they always hurt the liar more than the one lied to. Remember this little ditty: "My lies are lies wherever they may be. First, they trick you, but then they kick me." Just like Pinocchio found out, your lie will become as obvious as the nose on your face. Watch out with direct lies. Another kind of falsehood is insinuations. Sometimes you don't tell a lie, you just insinuate it. The Pharisees insinuated, for instance, that Jesus was an illegitimate child in John 8:44. They didn't say he was. They just insinuated it in a reply to him. That insinuation was a lie that became perpetuated by those opposed to Christ for centuries. You can bear false witness through insinuation also by the tone of your voice, like, "I don't know." Or you can do that without saying a thing, the arching of your eyebrows or the shrugging of your shoulders, and other body language can insinuate more than words could ever say. Likewise, saying nothing to correct the lie that is spoken in your presence is itself lying because you're not fixing what is the untruth. Another form of false witness is hypocrisy. We can lie with our lips, but we can also lie with our life. And that's what a hypocrite does. A hypocrite lives a fake life of faith. While others may be unaware of the hypocrite's ways, I guarantee you his or her family knows them. So live a true life of faith before a watching world, and especially before your family. Another form of bearing false testimony is broken promises. When you say you will do something but you don't follow through, you've lied. When you tell somebody, "I'll call you back," but you never do. Or when you say, "We'll get together," but you don't ever do it. Be careful promising things to your kids because they will take it as a true promise, and if you don't fulfill it, it'll be a lie. Be careful even by saying, "We'll see, we'll look into that later," because we adults know we're just pushing it down the road and putting them off hoping they'll forget about it, right? No. Those kids remember, we'll see means we'll see. We'll talk about it later means we'll talk about it later. So be careful that you don't break those promises. Good intentions never met are promises that are broken. Keep your word. Another form of false testimony is flattery. Proverbs 26:28 says, a flattering mouth works ruin. And in Romans 16:18 says, flattery is deceptive. Now, we're not talking about honest compliments or sincere praise, because people need that. We need to give praise where it's due and compliments where they're due. But flattery is different. Flattery is insincere praise that is used to butter someone up so you can use them. You butter them up so you can bake them, is basically what it does. Adrian Rogers says something great. He says, a flatterer will say to your face what he would never say behind your back. A hypocrite will say behind your back what he'd never say to your face. They're the same. They're heads and tails of the same evil coin, and God forbids them both. And so let's talk about the other side. Flattery is one side. The other side is gossip and slander. Now, we mentioned that those twin sins last week when we talked about murder, but we do so again because they are built on lies. Gossip and slander are rampant today because of social media. Back in the 1890s, D.L. Moody, the famous evangelist, said, a rumor could travel halfway around the world before the truth ever got its boots on. Well, if that was true in 1890, whoo, mercy. With the internet today, it can travel even faster. Check your facts. Whether the post is about a politician or a python, a couple of seconds of Googling can help you know whether it's true or not. Some of you may have seen in July a social media post that went all across Louisiana about Opelousas getting a Buc-ee's at I-49 and 190. Now, if you don't know what Buc-ee's is, I'm sorry. Because Buc-ee's is amazing. I mean, like, people plan vacation by where they're going to go buy Buc-ee's. Just seeing the number of gas pumps and bathroom stalls is worth the trip. And you're going to get $45 worth of snacks and stuff. You can do your Christmas shopping. You can get your souvenirs and gas. And another amazing thing about Buc-ee's, they have figured out how to check people out fast, even though there are hundreds of people in that store. Walmart, could you learn a lesson? Well, Buc-ee's is amazing, and so people got excited. Man, there's going to be one in Opelousas. We're going to be able to stop there on the way to LSU and all that kind of stuff. Well, that original post went viral until it was proven a hoax. But in the meantime, about 2,500 people shared the lie. You may have been one of them. But here's the thing. A few seconds of Googling would have revealed that the picture of the Opelousas groundbreaking actually came from one in Texas, where Buc-ee's began. While it may have crushed some hopes of people, spreading the rumor of Buc-ee's was not really harmful, of course. But rumors are destructive when they are lies about people. Refuse to be a party to gossip. It's been said, any idiot can tear down a building. It takes a skilled person to build one. Likewise, anyone can tear down character. It takes a real Christian to build it. Christians need to build people up rather than tear them down, and gossip tears them down. The story is told of a preacher who taught a lady in his congregation about the damage of gossip. It seems this lady had spread a lot of rumors about her pastor over several weeks and months, and being a true Christian, she was convicted about that, and so she came to the pastor and she said, Pastor, here's what I've done. I'm so sorry. Would you forgive me? And the pastor said, I will forgive you. Thank you for confessing that, and I'm glad that you came and made that right. And she said, well, thank you very much. She said, but there's one thing I want you to do for me. And she said, oh, anything, Pastor. I really do want to make this right. And so he said, well, here's a basket of feathers. I want you to go throughout the community, and just as you walk along here and there, cast some feathers into the wind and cast some feathers in the wind, and then come back when you're through. And so the lady thought it was kind of an odd request, but anyway, she wanted to show her dedication to her pastor now. And so she went out and she did that, and she came back and she said, well, my job is done. He said, no, one more thing. Now go back into the community and gather up all of those feathers. Because you see, that's what happens when we gossip. Once it's out there, true or not, you can never get it all back. Check the facts. Talk to the person, not around the person. If you spread slander, you're doing the work of the devil. In fact, the word devil means slanderer. Satan is the accuser, but he stands accused, and if you are a slanderer, you stand accused as well. A twin to gossip and slander is fault-finding and unjust criticism. People often find fault and criticize because they don't know all the facts or they're only concerned with themselves. Unjust criticism and fault-finding are sins that fall under false witness because they are based upon falsehoods. Now, certainly, we can all have opinions about whatever we want to have opinions of, and we certainly do, but we should not be overly critical or look for faults instead of seeing the best. Sadly, many people look for the worst instead of the best, and one author said they're like vultures. Vultures soar up above beautiful countryside looking for the one rotten, dead thing down below. And they miss all of the beauty of God's creation as they fly, and they look for this death there. Don't be a vulture. They're ugly. They're nasty. Other people find faults and criticize because they don't know all the facts. And if they did, they might not criticize, and they might even agree with what's happened. And others find faults and criticize simply because they aren't happy themselves. And somehow, in some weird, twisted way, it makes them feel better when they tear other people down. Pastor, denominational leader, and cartoonist Joe McKeever recently made a helpful post, in fact, last month on his social media account. He said one of his veteran deacons would give new deacons this advice. He said that from time to time, church members will call to complain about someone or something. Let me tell you how to handle it. Hear them out, then say, "Come with me. Let's go talk with them." If they'll go with you, well and good. If they refuse, then tell them, "All right, I'll go, but I'll use your name." If they approve, good. If they say, "No, leave my name out of it," tell them, "Then it ends right here. I refuse to take anonymous criticism to anyone. It's unfair to them, does not help the situation, and is unworthy of the Lord." May God increase the tribe of that godly deacon right there. Also, have you heard this one? A lot of people are saying, when you hear that, here's your response. You and who else? And then if they won't name names, walk away. Don't let criticism hover in anonymity. If you're bold enough to make the criticism, be bold enough to stick your name to it. Sometimes the sin needs to be confronted, right? Sometimes there needs to be something that we talk about. But when we must have such an unpleasant conversation, we do so with the person directly. And we speak the truth in love, as Ephesians 4:15 teaches. And unfortunately, it's the love that's often missing. If there's one thing this sermon series, I hope, is teaching all of us, it's that none of us are perfect. In fact, I think in every one of these categories of commandments, we've all probably found something that we needed to go to the Lord about. It's proven, Romans 3:23, that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So carry some grace. Seek understanding, and don't be a vulture. The final form of false witness is lying to God. And this, of course, is the worst form of lying, because we are lying to the one who is himself truth. Further, he knows all things. So when we lie to him, it's kind of foolish and ridiculous because he already knows everything. We lie to God primarily, though, when we don't follow through after making a spiritual decision, like to be saved or to rededicate our lives or to join the church or to give our life in vocational service or something like that. So we commit to a church family, but we don't serve or even show up. We commit to tithe, but we hold back. We commit to serve, but we don't show up. Spiritual decisions and commitments should be held in a higher regard than any other commitment we make in our life. Because when we do not keep them, we are lying to God, and that is a dangerous place to be. For Proverbs 12:22 says, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." Further, 3 of the 7 things that the Lord hates in Proverbs 6:16 and 19 have to do with breaking this commandment. 3 of the 7. A lying tongue, a false witness, and a person who stirs up conflict. The Lord hates those 3 things. Further, liars are among those listed in Revelation 21:8. It says, who shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone. Did you know that our expression, liar, liar, pants on fire, most likely, we're not really totally sure, but most likely comes from an 1840 English naval ballad that is alluding to that scripture in Revelation. Your pants are on fire because hell's getting close when you lie. Now, if everyone who lied went to hell, there wouldn't be any hope for any of us, right? Because we've all sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and we've all lied at some point in our life. But this is not speaking of those who know Jesus and who occasionally lie and they immediately repent and get back to the truth. This is for those who live a life of lying. Remember, when we lie, we're more like the devil than we are Jesus. And so as Paul wrote in Ephesians 4:25, each of us must put off falsehood and speak truthfully. God desires for us to tell the truth. And so we should pray as the psalmist did in Psalm 19:14, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And as he prayed in Psalm 141, verse 3, set a guard over my mouth, Lord, keep watch over the door of my lips. You know, the first president of the United States may not have ever told his father, I cannot tell a lie. But the 37th president of the United States told a whopper of a lie. In the summer before President Richard Nixon's successful re-election to a second term, 5 men were caught breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. And as details emerged over the next year, it became clear that officials close to the Nixon administration gave orders to the burglars. And then the question soon became whether Nixon himself knew of the things, gave orders for the break-in, or even helped cover up the break-in. Well, in response to mounting suspicions, Nixon denied allegations that he knew anything. His famous quote, I am not a crook, didn't really apply to the Watergate scandal, but it stuck because his lies came back to haunt him. When it was revealed that private White House conversations had been recorded, the investigative committee subpoenaed those tapes. When they finally got access to the tapes, they revealed that Nixon knew way more than he had said he knew. Upon the initiation of impeachment processes, Nixon, of course, resigned from office and left the White House. Here's the thing. If you look back at history, Nixon did some amazing and really good things in his first 4 years as president. But no one remembers them because of the Watergate scandal. That became his legacy. Lies always come out, and they always destroy the liar. There's only one remedy to the sin of lying, and that's Jesus Christ in your heart. You need personified truth in your heart, not the father of lies in your heart. The best way I can use my tongue to tell anything to you is to just tell you about the Lord Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life, who wants to give you life, who wants to show you truth, who wants you to help to walk in the path of truth. And so I invite you to do that today.